Don't step away from you to fulfill what other people want to hear, because you're not a jukebox. You're a creative human being.
You ever meet those people who, without prompting, get into long philosophical breakdown of the littlest thing? Like, who exactly asked you? Why do you always have to break everything down? It's not that deep.
Maybe you don't hate that person. Maybe that person is you. Well, that's us too. We love to think about everything. We also love to think about thinking, our own and the world's. Often in real life, the response we get is, ain't nobody got time for that.
So we created a podcast. This is our space for those 4 hour conversations that never have a smooth ending. Join us down the rabbit hole of stories and ideas about humans, the planet, time, ideologies, cultural phenomena, world problems, and potential solutions as we encounter them in our day to day life.
Je vous l'ai déjà dit, y a pas que moi, y a surtout les esprits. Jusqu'à la mort, c'est ça la vie. Vie, vie. We from the old school. Don't let them rope you. You running things, stay in your lane, wishing to smoke you. Grenade à la zo. Ça qui mourit, ça fait aïe.
So, building a community and creating a community has been kind of one of those discussions that have been kind of around. Like I just moved, and like before I moved, and I was talking to my professor. So I moved for school, and I was talking to my professor, just kind of like, what are some things that you would want to do, like before you start like grad school? And his main thing was build a community, and that's what's going to kind of like keep you. Um, so people have kind of many different definitions of community. And also there's this discussion of safe space. Um, and I just kind of wanted to hear you guys on like what are like your definitions of those two terms and how kind of you see them interacting.
Okay. Um it okay. For me, community is like it's kind of hard for me to like define as I guess other people seem to like define it. Um the definition for me has changed like over the years from what it used to be to what it is now. Like for me, when I first, learned that word, it meant people that lived, near you, people that were your neighbors from the same country, from nationality, um somebody that had something in common as you. Anybody really that has something you can connect with that person for.
Mhm.
But now, because I've had, I guess, so much trouble finding people that have those common ground with me,
Mhm.
I kind of redefine it to like someone who is there for you regardless, who understands, love you, appreciate you, even if you guys are in like different like walks of life or you don't really have much things in common. The only things that's keeping you grounded is you choosing each other and loving each other and so on. That's just what I think about it now. It's like I feel like it's beautiful when you get to pick and choose who's part of your community and be happy with that results, like no matter how small it is. Because I used to think of community as being like this huge thing, right?
Mhm.
But what I did not realize is you get to choose how big do you want your community to be because it's yours. That's how I think about it. I don't know. What do you think, Cass?
Well, I actually had to put a lot of thoughts into this answer because I felt like I have been moved from places to places, from people to people, when it comes to my family, friendship, and I haven't really been feeling grounded in anything except for myself, a lot of the time. So, that doesn't mean that I didn't have like people around me, like as a community, but it's just at the end of the day, I see community as an experience. Like, I've had experience with um what I would consider the Haitian community around me, Haitian people that I've had experience with, dancing compa and things like that. Or when King Pasi comes on, it's like that one person that have the same
Mm-hmm.
reaction that you do because they can relate. So it's, being able to relate and also have that experience. Um, I'm still learning I'm still trying
Mm-hmm.
to define what community means to me, but for now, I would just say community is just what makes me feel comfortable. Is it a home, or is it my career, or is it just people that I can relate to as women, or people that I can relate to as coworkers? Um I don't know if it needs to be just one group of people or different group of people that makes the symbol of community for me. So when I find out exactly where to stop in the definition of community for myself,
Yeah.
we might have to do a
I
Yeah.
second
got you on
episode
that.
on that.
It's always changing for me too.
Yeah, like so for me, like I really liked what you said about community as an experience. Like for me, so I kind of have like both of these kind of. I tried to categorize them when I was thinking about this. So I have like big C community and like little C community. And big C community, I see kind of the communities that I belong to in terms of space and culture and just kind of like, so for example, like being part of the black community or being part of the Haitian community, being part of the immigrant community, which is kind of dependent on where I am at a specific time. um Dependent like the queer community or the academic field that I'm in, or like my spiritual community. I see that as like a big C. And then I have the little C community, which is kind of the communities that belong to me, like Nessa said, as in,
Mhm.
you know, my family and my neighborhood and my circle of friends and my spiritual family. And just kind of those things that I kind of put together in a way, like maybe not necessarily family, maybe not the family that I originated from, but maybe the family that I create. So I think in terms of like just finding out community is about intention. And I think that's kind of like what we were kind of angling towards, which is it's a broad term that can be defined in so many ways, and not just defined in so many ways, but that can be intersectional, which makes it kind of hard to define further. So for example, being part of the black community doesn't mean that you're part of the Haitian community, but those communities kind of intersect in some way, and just to talk about that and to bring in the idea of safe space, which is um usually described as kind of a place or like a dimension where a person can be and feel confident that they won't be exposed to like discrimination or criticism or harassment or any kind of like emotional or physical like harm. And what I realize is that like community and safe space can be mutually exclusive, or they don't necessarily mean the same thing at the same time. So being part of the queer community, for example, kind of comes into like some clash in being part of the Haitian community. And sometimes you need to create a safe space within your own community, and I'm
Mhm.
using community as like a big C in that way. And sometimes like your little C community, which is kind of like the community that you create, ends up being that safe space for you within your own big C community.
Yeah, yeah. I understand exactly where you're coming from when it comes to that, because you're looking around you and you seeing like the differences between, oh well, wait, I am black. but
Mhm.
wait, I am also Haitian. But wait, you're looking at those small C's that don't necessarily come together, and then you realize, is an actually like safe space where all those things exist together, where I can exist? Because
Mhm.
in the beginning, I never used to think about those things, right?
Mhm.
When I knew, like, thinking about when I knew what community meant, I actually used to love it,
Mhm.
because I used to love and embrace the reason why most people should,
Mhm.
love community.
Mhm.
Because back in Haiti, it's very different. It's, I mean, different.
Mhm.
I used to be such an awe, watching how my small community used to like work together, right? Because I used to live like in a small space
Mhm.
with other people, like neighbors living around you. You knew your neighbors. I'll watch my mom helping other people and those people helping back. There was no differences really. So I felt like, oh man, I can't wait, to grow up and be able to help my community the same way and help other people the same way that I've seen my mom does or I've seen my aunt does and all that stuff. But then I came here to the States
Mhm.
and that changes, right? It no longer becomes like, oh yeah, you part of that community. I've never like even learned my neighbor's name. I don't really communicate with, other
Mhm.
people around me besides my family. So your community starts getting sectioned. You go to school, you meet people there. You go to work, you meet people there. You come home, you meet different type of people, and you kind of like have to navigate your way around those different places and find things that you have in common to make those people your community, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's harder to do, especially now that I'm finding myself, and the more I'm changing, the more I'm realizing you're no longer part of that community. You've been excused. Next, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to like
Yeah.
make everybody being part of it. And you got to be okay with letting, go of what you thought it was so that you can be happy. Right? So you
Right.
have to let go of some people and be like, you're no longer part of it.
That's what Adessa said about big C's and little C's. Like with communities in general, especially in Haiti, in a place so small, where most backgrounds are the same, there's not a lot of diversity going on over there. So most people would have the same type of day. Um, where you see like the neighbors exchanging dinner or lunch or whatever like time Haitian people serve dinner. Um, and all of them trying to get their kids to certain schools and things like that. Whereas when you move here, you are thrust into a different experience with people that don't necessarily relate to you and people that don't have the same background as you. I was living in Utah for a while, and I remember that time I went to the library and this black dude that I've never seen ever in my life walked up to me and gave me a hug and was like, "I'm so happy to finally see a black person." So for some reason, we were part of the same like big
Mhm.
C community as far as like, as a race, even though we were not really in a little C community where maybe I'm not able to relate to him that much as a person, except for the fact that, well, we are in the area where there's not a lot of people that look like us. And it's nice to see, hey, I am part of something. And maybe I feel like maybe I reminded him that, hey, you still have pieces of your community around even if you don't see them all the time. So I see where you're coming from with this, and it's kind of sad sometimes, like when
Oh
you
my God.
when you feel
Yeah.
fragmented, like you don't have a
Yeah.
whole you in one pot. You have different tiny pieces of you in different communities, and sometimes like the intersect in different areas
Right.
and
Or you
in
can't
areas that
even
are
pick one
opposite to each
because
other, and you don't
you
even
don't
know which
really
one to
truly
pick.
belong to any one of them. Like I've struggled with that. Like I don't feel like even now, like I don't feel like I'm part of any community, to be honest. That's why I rely on me creating my own little safe space because I don't really find any place that I legit feel like, okay, I belong there or I belong here. Any of them, because everybody's views are either so different than mine. It's like night and days. And it's like people in community expect everybody to have the same views. And it's like, just because I'm black does not mean we're like the same thing. Just because I do this or I'm Haitian does not mean this about me or anything. Even hanging out with people in my own culture. Like I feel like nobody gets it. I don't belong anywhere, you know, and it doesn't make you feel safe, if that makes sense. You end up being alone in a corner, but you really don't want to be alone because who does, right? So you end up closing
Mhm.
parts of yourself just to belong, if that makes sense. Like just to be a part of it. Like, oh yeah, we all want to do this? Sure, sure. I'll go there. It doesn't mean anything to me as much as it does to you, but because you mean something to me and you're part of my community, I'll go ahead and do it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like that's not who I am, but nobody gets it.
I felt like to be Haitian, I had to go to bal. That's like that's what Haitian people do. So I bought ticket to go to all the way to Florida to go to a bal. I got there, I was having a horrible time until the end of the session when they start
Mm.
playing King Pasi, because that's what I think of when I think of Haiti. And I just had a horrible time, and I bought ticket to go a second time again because I felt like if I didn't go to bal as, like, an adult or like in my 20s, like early 20s, I was somewhat like somehow not completely part of the Haitian community, especially with other people that are supposedly in the same community around you telling you how much you may not be too much of something because you're not participating in it. Like you may not be too much of a Haitian if you don't know how to like be a pro and compa and knowing the Haitian bad. But now I'm over it. I just listen to King Pasi because that's what I like, and I'm not gonna force myself to into the new compa if I'm not into it.
Right, right. Like you don't have to conform, yourself just to be part of a community. Like you should be making me feel safe, you know? You should embrace me as I am. Why do I have to conform myself just to be part of it? You know what I mean? Like society, like they kind of like make sure of it. Like, okay, so you belong there. So that means you should act that way. You belong here. So that means you should act that way. And the moment somebody step out of that box, it's like, holy crap, I'm either alone or I feel guilty, for being different, for not wanting to conform
Maybe I
around
shouldn't
me,
be
if
in a
that makes
box.
sense.
Right. And I guess it's about kind of this reduction. Like being part of a community sometimes means, especially kind of when you're part of a community and you're talking to, or you're being seen, or you're interacting, or other people who are not from that community see you or interact with you, and you get kind of reduced to the common characteristics that exist among those people that are part of like that community, whether it's usually it's probably like big C. um and it's like you feel like you didn't choose to be part of that community, you just kind of
It's just
happened to
born.
be.
And
And
that was
yeah,
time.
like you were just born in it. And it's not even like about space or about anything like that, because for example, like you're all the way from Haiti and you're in Utah. It's like I'm suddenly in this community with you, but I don't know
Right?
you. Like I
Nothing.
don't, you know what I mean? It's like we don't really share a lot besides
Decide
what other
to
people see and decide that, because I see this in you and in you, then y'all should go together just to make it easier for me. to
Right,
just go
right. It's
about
all
my
about making
day.
it easier for the other
you know?
person. It's like, what?
Right. So this idea of like compliance and conformity doesn't always just come from um like the people within the
Mhm.
community. Maybe the people within the community kind of internalize the rules with air quotes around them that you have to follow to be part of the community, but those are not necessarily rules that kind of like rules of initiation or anything like that. I think people kind of, once you group people together, whether they didn't choose to be or whether they did choose to be, they do kind of grow a certain pride from kind of being in a different group, just kind of like doing the in and the out movement of that. And just so people just, they kind of grow attached to that description that society attaches to them. And a way for them to kind of uphold it is by making sure that everyone upholds it, because people tend to kind of end up identifying with their community in terms of like the characteristics that describe the community are the same characteristics that describe them, or they feel like that's how it should be. And so if you decide that you can be part of this community while representing other characteristics, they feel like you're just diluting the definition of what that community
Mhm.
means to them. And that's kind of like um that's threatening to them, because then they feel like they have to like question again, who are they and where do they belong. And if they don't have kind of like clear parameters and clear like delineating like the boundaries of what it means to be part of that community and what it means to be them, then they feel like, like what am I doing here? And it's like a whole existential crisis. I see this and I think of kind of like the United States, and there's this chasm between the idea of what makes someone an
Ugh.
American and how people see Americans and how Americans see themselves. And that's definitely an example of a community, as big or as small as you want to think of it, that has it within itself, so many kind of cross-cutting um cleavages of just different people, and it really kind of brings to mind what you were talking about of like, there's not really a way for one person and all of the different things that we are to really kind of be reduced to like the simple characteristics that we have for groups. There's a reason why those characteristics are simple. It's about
Mm.
categorization, because we really couldn't take in everything that someone is every single time that we kind of run through
Oh.
someone on the street. So like to sit here, like you're walking down the street and you see someone and you can say, oh, I just saw a white woman there.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
she has a whole story. She had how many birthday parties, she had how many heartbreaks, and how many, all of that that makes someone who they are. You couldn't take all of that and walk with it. And so it's kind of this thing that we do where um community is something that means a lot and that is important. Even if you wanted to circumvent it, you can't. Like, just as a
Trust me.
human, you have to have some sort of community, whether it doesn't even have to be based on proximity or familiarity. You
Mhm.
need to have it. But in that same need, there's like a lot of kind of constraints within that need, because you want to be part of the community, but you also don't want to be just reduced to just that. And you do understand that you probably have a lot of different interests and a lot of different like communities within you, like that you belong to. And so it's just kind of hard for you to kind of be okay with just this complexity, and where do you belong. So like, it's like, if I belong everywhere, do I belong Anywhere.
That's actually a good question.
I would say yes. Because
Yeah.
if I belong everywhere, then I belong anywhere, basically.
Mhm.
Because you can, when you have a whole dish, do you just, take like a piece of broccoli and just eat it like as a meal, or do you add spices and do you add meat and all of that? Like all of those little pieces, they belong to a group. I know that I'm talking about food, but this is a real example.
You need to get some
It's
food.
okay. Talk about your food.
Like, you have your milk and butter that belongs to like one community of food, and you have your broccoli and your asparagus that's like in one community of food, and then you have your meat that's in one community of food, and you have your spices in one community of food, and they all come together, and it's just like
Mhm.
one big thing. Like it has pieces of different communities, but it belongs in your tummy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. As much as I agree with your food analogy, I've seen to like humans cannot do that. They can do that for everything else. They can do that for food. They can do that for different type of cars they accept. They can do that for literally everything else on this planet. Have different version of it. And humans use everything. But when it comes to other humans like them, it's like their brain cannot comprehend you're different. Their brains cannot understand or make the differences like, yeah, you black, but you can be black and there's no such thing. It's just this is just what you are. And the moment you add a little and, it's like people gets confused. They always gotta question it. Like, okay, why can't you be simple? Why can't you just go through life like 90% of us are doing, you know? Why can't you think the same way that all of us are thinking? Why you gotta be the one that step out the box? Why you gotta overthink things? Why everything has to be so deep? Why can't you just have fun? And then I stay looking confused at those people like, but this is fun to me. Like, how do I make you understand this is just who I am? And you're just gonna have to accept that if I'm here, if
Right.
that
And I
makes sense.
think what we try to do by creating those little C's um, is kind of get those people that allow us to be the whole of ourselves. Just like when you're doing all of this code switching, like Cass brought up in terms of, oh, you go here and you're this person, and you go there and you're this person, and you end up feeling fragmented. It's not just that your life is fragmented, but you just end up feeling that too. You feel like these are the pieces of yourself, and you think that the instinct is to put all of those pieces together, and that will get to who you really are. Whereas it's not really that, because it starts with you. It doesn't start with the pieces of you that you find in the world, or that people allow you to express in the world. It starts with the whole of you, of who you are, and then you allow people to see those pieces of you. I feel like there's this question of empowerment when it comes to this kind of things, where yes, people do put those constraints on you, but you're also kind of this participant in this dance, and you also have your power in terms of how you understand the cultural mechanisms that you're participating in, and how you decide to participate in them. So what I've been trying to do, for example, is that, like, I will be in class, and after 1 second I'm like going in, with like all of the academic jargon that I know, like with my whole white voice and everything. And then, you know, and the next moment, after I'm done doing that, I make a joke. Like, or like I'll make a joke that like
No,
makes
you
it clear that like I'm black, or like that, like, so like
don't.
like for example, like my professor was talking, and then he was saying something like, oh, like, we were talking about money, and he was talking about, like, when he says he's gonna get money, it's really just money for the university. It's not really for him. And he's like, well, if you want to go over there where, you know, um, you could, like, talking about industry, like, you could just, bring an idea and just have the money and buy a car. Like, I had to, like, I was, going from, like, a long conversation about theory and things like that. So I had to be like, oh shoot, like, drop a location or something. You can't just say over there. Like, you got to give people an address, like something. So I tried to, like,
Yes.
bring it in, because I don't anymore want people to see me as just one part of me, or, like, I don't want to present just the part that I feel like I'm allowed to present anymore. I feel like I'm allowed to
Mm.
present all of me wherever I am. Of course, there's, like, some things that you can't do. Like, you can't walk in there, like, cursing. You can't walk in there, like, twerking to Meg.
Right.
But
Right.
also at the same time,
Mhm.
like, if I had my headphones on and I was listening to Cardi and I walked in and you can still hear Cardi through my headphones, I really don't care. Like, if I'm, like, riding
Yeah.
my car in and I get into
Okay.
the car lot and I was still banging my music, then you get to hear that, because that's me. And we can get into a conversation where we're talking about, like, metaphysics or whatever the fuck you want to talk about, and we can do that, because that's also me.
But that's still
And so
me.
I feel like a lot of times,
Right.
and I used to do that too, where I'm like, okay, so I'm here, so I can't be this Hadassah. Like, I'm here and I can't be this person, but
Mhm.
it's like, why not? Like, what really prevents me from being that person? Sure, that means that maybe sometimes I might have to miss out on some things. Like, if some people from whatever pieces of me they get to see for that day, they make assumptions and they want to exclude me from something, that's still fine, because honestly, if you can't handle
Mhm.
all of me, I probably don't want to be there anyway.
You don't
Right.
need no
And
part.
so for
Right.
me, it's
Right.
like a lot of that. I feel like there's, like, this conversation where, like, we were talking about, like fragmentation and code switching. And I think that a lot of times, even within communities, we we kind of get used to how the out group sees us, and we try to
Mhm.
somehow kind of do this, like, self-fulfilling prophecy where we kind of, like, try to prove, either we do it in either direction. Either we go, like, super in and we try to, so kind of like just talking about how, like, communities, being part of a community or not being part of a community, can influence your life. It's like,
Mhm.
sometimes you either go really in where you really want to belong, so you conform and you participate in the respectability politics, and you're exactly the image that they want you
I don't
to
think
project.
we can do that.
and and
Mhm.
and like, sometimes you try as much as you can until you get
Mhm.
to your room and you can take your bra off or whatever.
And
And
Oh
you
yeah,
know
best feeling.
and on the other hand, you could go, like, all the way off where you're like, I don't give a fuck, like, I'm gonna be who I am, and you go
Yep.
into, like, a complete
Yep.
caricature of everything that the out group or even your own community despises. Like, you just become that combination for them, just because you really want to show them that you're not, or you're never going to be what they
but
want you to
honestly,
be. And I
oh,
think,
sorry. Go ahead. No, because
go
I was
ahead. No,
trying to
no, go
not
ahead.
forget this. Does it really have to be because you want to
Hmm.
show them you different, or you don't want to be like you're not gonna be what they want you to be?
Oh no, that's where I
Okay,
was gonna
because
go. It doesn't have to be that. I'm just saying,
because
like, that's
on
usually kind of like how
the
it
one
happens.
way
The way it
of
goes.
being what they want you to be is
Mhm.
stressful, and not being what they want you to be is also stressful. And being fragmented is not that bad because it really allows you to compartmentalize each part of you. Because just because you are a nice person, well, I think I'm not trying to step out of subject, I'm just giving a comparison. Like, if you're a nice person, that doesn't mean you can't also be a mean person. So you can't be very religious, like, in your religious community, whereas in your ladies night out community, you are not very religious. So
What? What? No, I feel like that's like the opposite of what we should be doing, to be honest. It's kind of like, so wherever you are, you're a different person. So
The
you're no
different
longer just
just
one person who have different
flavors
parts.
and different
You
from
become
different
different
turn you
environments.
person.
into one
Like I
person.
would not drink at I don't like to drink at home, but if I am on vacation, I do want to sip all of the wine. That doesn't mean I'm a different person. It's just different um uh,
No, that's just something you choose to do, but not because, oh, I look around me and nobody else
I
is
don't
doing it, so I shouldn't be doing it.
I don't think that's what
That's
I'm saying. I'm
basically
saying
what
like
it
if you
is.
have a religious
If that
community
makes sense.
where you're talking about your I don't know, the Lord Jesus about charities and things like that. Whereas you go into a ladies' night out and the more fun side of you come out, like you are clinking glasses and saying yes, bitches, or something like that. Um,
I got you.
it's
I hear you. I hear you.
I think it really
Then
comes
I
down
guess maybe
to
that.
whether like those different pieces of you are in conflict or you allow them to be in conflict. So like if you're out and you're like with
Mhm.
your like using that same example, like if you're out with your spiritual community and you of course you're not like, twerking and
I don't know.
driving the boat, but
Right.
you're like
I mean, you can.
but it's about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate for like whatever domain you're in. However, if you're in that and
Hmm.
you're like just seeing people who are actually driving the boat or twerking, or if you are like just talking about it and you suddenly become this person who's kind of like looking down on it, or just, oh, I don't understand how people can do that, or
That's that's
just kind of
Hmm. Hmm.
participate into like a different conversation that kind of like turns the same, like it's still you. So if you were kind of like going out with some of your friends from church, you
at
would
this
be
point
that person. You see what I
hypocrisy.
mean?
And not only is it
Mm.
hypocrisy, it's the fact that one of those thing is not you. One of them has to be fake. If you're saying I don't know,
Hmm. Well, that's a lot of things that happens with, sorry, with fragmentation, is that sometimes you kind of get lost into one of those personalities or one of
Yep.
those
Yep.
personas
Hmm.
that you have concocted just for other people's benefit.
but that's a part I don't like about
Right.
it when we
Right.
saying, "Oh, we doing this for people's benefit." Maybe I really do believe that different things bring different things out of you. Like if if I'm if I'm at well, let's say you are in the area where it's being like Haitian music is being played. For me, I feel like I would be more prone to wanting to say some blag in Creole or having a conversation in Creole. Not because, oh, it's not me. It's just that's the part of me that this kind of song brings out. Whereas if I am in a situation where, we playing some what music that's out right now? I don't know. Some, I guess
Any kind of music. I'm on
I
Lizzo
I
and
haven't
Cardi
been
B
able to
right
get
now,
on the
so
whole
either
Cardi
one of
B
them
and
work.
Lizzo thing. I guess that's a different conversation thing. But it's just like we playing
What?
some Backstreet
You need to
Boys or
get on
something, you
that.
know?
Oh my god.
She took it back there with
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys.
I feel like the
Go for it,
romantic or
sister.
childish me is gonna want to come out. It's not necessarily you are doing it for people. I feel like different areas and I mean different opportunities and different situation just make me feel
See, I totally agree with you. I don't think we're arguing against each other with that. So for me, like what I was really really saying is that if you're out with like at work or whatever and a Haitian song comes out and you feel like you're not allowed to participate or sing or like dance or like kind of like do
Hmm.
whatever you
Hmm.
would do if you were just
no.
walking around and that song came up, like that's the problem, is when you're so fragmented where you feel like where you are dictates who you are.
what
It's not
you do.
necessarily
Yeah, who
like
you
it's
are
not
and what you
necessarily
do.
like
Yeah.
if like something can incite a different emotion in you. It's where you're kind of restricting yourself to only being
Because of
right, fear
fear. Yeah,
rejection,
because of
like, or
fear of
fear
that
or
rejection.
whatever. You
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
you have to be this person in order to stay
Well, in
here
this
and
case,
do
I would
this.
feel
You know
like
what I
you
mean?
just not yourself. If you feel like if you being a person in order to appease other people around you or appease the community
Hmm.
around you, then you're not yourself anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Or you can take it to the whole left and not being
Hmm.
part of it at all. Cause I kind of did that. I kind of went black. Like, when people are like, you just fell off the grid. I just feel like, okay, I don't want to have this conversation with nobody. Nobody really either gets it, or when you talk to people, it's always on the surface. The same conversations are being repeated on the loop every day. And I kind of like, you know what? Let me take this out to see if I don't need this. Oh, wait, I don't need this. All right. Let me take away talking to this person every day. You know what I'm saying? Like little by little, I kind of remove myself from every little community that I had, besides the ones that pays my bills. Like, so besides going to work, I really did not have any other community near me because I feel like none of them were bringing out of me what I wanted it to bring. So how do you know when you're like crossing that line? Like, do I have to be part of a community, and if so, how do I be part of that community? Or do I just excuse myself altogether
Well,
and just be alone and end up being a
don't
serial
try to
killer?
kill anybody.
How do you find that
I
line?
mean,
Just,
the
you
question
wouldn't
is
know because I didn't
now,
talk
can
to
a
no one
community just be
about it.
one person? Or does it have to be more than one person?
Like one other person.
That's my point. Yeah. That's why I ended up saying I'm choosing my small community, because it's like now I'm counting how many people I interact with on a daily basis in my life, and it's like one, two, three. Oh wait, I have three people in my life. That's good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Compared to like bringing a bunch of people in my life just to be toxic to me, to being toxic to who I am as a person, if that makes sense. Like,
But do people have to be personally in your life to be part of your community? Because I feel like some community we actually don't choose, we are part of it depending on what definition of community that we're using. Because regardless if you're not personally involved in a community or you're not actively participating in a community, you might still be part of it. It's like that ingredient that
well, yeah, you can't escape it. Yeah, I mean, people are always gonna see me as a black girl. People are always gonna see me. Hey, you a woman first. You belong to this first. People are gonna see me how they see me, but I no longer internalize it. Like, I no longer think about it the way that people project it. Like, you can project all you want, but to me, you're not part of my world. Like, I kind of like just erase you, if that makes sense. Like, I see you talking, you running your mouth, but nothing is really coming in. Like, I have like a steel door, but I feel like maybe I've done it a little too much. So that's why I'm like, when do you balance it out and be like, I still like to be part of a community. I remember the times where I wanted to do things for my community. How do I bring that back to me without letting them influence me, if that makes
Yeah, I think it's part of like finding. It's about creating your community because I feel like a lot of the like whatever like different answer sections that you think that you have, you can probably find someone else in that big C community that's like that too. If you really want to stay kind of close to your big C community, let's say like you want to stay close to the Haitian community. So like for me, I want to stay close to the Haitian community because I want to do work with that or whatever it
sense.
is,
Right.
and so for me, I try to find people within that same community that allow me to be all of me. So I find a lot of people, even if they don't necessarily like think the way that I do, but they actually have
Mhm.
like some acceptance of the way that I
Right.
think. They have an
Right.
acceptance of the way that I live my life. you know. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's about like I don't want to only talk to two or three people in my life.
Mm.
Like
Yeah, I'm
I
getting tired
don't
of that.
want to, right? Like I don't want to do that
Yeah.
because honestly, I want to be exposed to different ways of thinking. I want to be exposed to different,
Mhm.
everything. So I want to know more people, and I want to know more people like on like an intimate level. And
Mhm.
so for me, I feel like
Mm.
that may take shut up. That may
Intimate, you say?
not
Yeah.
But in
whatever.
the community.
But like that may take time and that may take effort, and that doesn't mean that there will be people who live down the street. But
Mm.
like,
Yes.
there are different like for example, we have this whole podcast, with people
Yes.
who,
We
you know,
created a community
right,
miles
we
away.
created our own little community within the communities that we are part of, because we are part
Mhm.
of the same communities, like a lot of the same communities, so we get to do that and we get to do something with it and we get to kind of open up a way for finding, even like more people that would actually be interested and would actually be open and have.
Listen, it's so hard to find people when you're an introvert, when you don't mind staying in your house all day, every day, when you don't mind having conversation, sometimes out loud, you know, by yourself and enjoy your brain and see, hey, let's see where this goes today. When you don't mind your own company so much, it becomes a problem because it's like, I have to go out of my way just to see if we're compatible to talk, just to see if you can be part of my community. It's so much work. Like, I don't really like people. you know?
I do get like, enjoying your own company to the point that you don't really want other human company. But I think, but I
No.
think in the long run, you do really want to be in the know as to what's going on around you with other humans. You
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like because regardless if you do try to interact with those people, they are going to affect you in some way or another, maybe not directly, but in some ways. Like there are people that we're never gonna meet in our life at all that have affected us and we don't even know it,
Oh,
because we all
yes.
Mhm.
I really wish that
like
wasn't the case.
conversation and things happen like between us that can affect somebody else, affect somebody else, affect somebody else, and get to like the zillion people and we don't
Mm-hmm.
even know it. But I think the reason why to try to talk to people, and I don't even know why I am arguing for this, because I really don't really put any effort into getting to know people. And I think half of my life I try to like go by the vibe. Like if some allow, then I might try to talk to you.
Mhm.
Right. But you got to put yourself in the situation to even find somebody to feel them out and see, hey, maybe, just maybe.
Meet people and you connect with them. And then sometimes,
Mm.
most of the time you don't, but sometimes like you meet people and you connect with them. Now I think the trick is gonna be, once you connect, is that person like a viable person for you to stay connected with? Like, are they
Mm.
positive or negative into your life? I try to look at people's conversation with other people to feel them out before I have conversation with them. Like if I'm hearing a guy talking like in a sexist way or saying like disparaging things around like about women, that kind of just cancel out the vibe for me, where I'm never gonna have a chance to feel like, oh, I have a vibe with that person that we can be friends. So I try to test people out by being a stalker. I shouldn't say that on radio, but when I say
It's okay.
like pay attention,
Cass said that, everybody.
I pay attention to how like people talk to other people, and if I don't like it, I think I just might not be interested. But I still want to know. I still want to hear them out because I want to hear what crazy ideas are out there and the weird things that people want
Hmm.
to do. Because I
Mhm.
mean, it's both entertaining and also know like where the land, like the land miles mines are. um
Right.
step on.
I enjoy talking to people just for that too. I completely agree. I'm like, yeah,
I am not
tell me your
interested
secret.
in you in a you know and in a way that's very inviting where I care about you as a person, but I am very curious and interested in the weird things that you have to say because it sounds interesting to me.
Right. I'm interested in people's mind. Yeah. I really like that. It's just most people minds are really like shallow. Like, I'm like, they just it's like you start and then you're like, what's happening? What happened? Where's the rest? What's going
Yeah.
on?
I actually point blank ended up asking someone like I said, "Do you have any debt?"
No, you
Damn.
didn't. No,
Cold
did this
blooded.
end?
Like, you empty.
No, I asked. I felt like I had to because
Yo, you did not.
chances after chance, conversation after conversation, get into any of the conversation.
There's no way.
Are you
There's
doing
no
this
way
on
that's it.
purpose or like you really this person?
Let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yo, what was the answer? Now I'm interested. What was the answer?
No, he said no.
Awesome.
He was very honest about that he had no debt.
Wow. Wow. I really would like to meet that person now. I'm like, maybe I can install, a
But
little
I
thing
think, I
in there
mean,
and
it's
give you
an
some,
interesting
because I have
experience
too
to
much.
just not have to think about things.
For
Because I
who?
mean, it's kind of like when people are like, "Oh, like what if your mom aborted you?" Like, it's like I wouldn't know. Like, I don't know what I'm missing, so I'm fine. Like, you're the one who got a problem with it. Like, I'm
You
fine.
did.
Like,
I wish. I really, that's the only community I would not mind being a part of. I
mhm.
really wish my brain would just be like, this is where we at, and that's it. I hate when my brain goes to the place where it's like, yo, I'm a brain. Like, this is a brain. The brain is thinking about the brain. So I'm
Yeah,
jealous of that
it's kind of
person
fun.
already. That's crazy.
Oh, not that they don't think.
Mhm.
It's just like all of the thought stays on the surface level where, when you have two plus two, and then for them it's just a two plus two, they don't recognize the ones that makes the two and the point 50 that makes the one.
Yo,
It's just
it's just too
okay,
much. Too
something that
much.
I
Y'all
memorized.
giving me a headache, and I think like that. Yo, that is something.
I think community is important. It's not necessarily. It's not just important. I think it's necessary because I mean did not used to think that at all. Like I used to want to be an island, and
Mm,
that just would be it.
yep.
And
I'm still there.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
still there. I can't
it's
lie.
just that
yes, islands.
like it's like you don't know what you're missing until because a lot of times why you're saying like you're okay with it is because you haven't really found a community where you really feel like you belong, you
Ooh,
really feel like
yeah.
you're not making any effort to be yourself or to be something else. You just feel like, oh,
Hmm.
like this is me, I'm existing, and these are the people in my life, and we're just chilling, you know?
Yeah, I think I'm a little here now. I think I'm there
That
Yeah,
now.
like
is
so that's
Hey
what I mean.
guys,
It's like a lot of
what's up?
times like you feel like you're okay because you're like, if the alternative is for me to be sweating, like everywhere that I'm around you, or then I'm fine with just
Mhm.
being with me, and that's great. And it's great to always be a good company to
Yeah.
yourself, but it's really
Oh,
also
always.
important and helpful.
Yeah, it's also good to have like it's also because like old people say like when you fall off or like you fall down like it's nice to have somebody who's gonna
Mhm.
call 911 even if they're not gonna put give you a hand to get up, because if you pass out, who's gonna nobody's gonna if you are by yourself, who's gonna call
Siri.
911 for you and give you that who's gonna give you that?
I'm like, I picture it. I'm not gonna lie. I've pictured a life without no community.
So you set up Siri. You're like, Siri, if I don't touch this phone within 4 hours, call
Yo,
911.
listen. Community makes it hard. You got to picture a life without them for a second.
I think the community for you is not going to be that
That's
hard.
the
That's
thing.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I think the community that are hard is probably like it's probably the ones that you don't belong in. Like they're not your
No.
home.
Making it
It's
fit.
like you can get like in that condo and you have all of that nice shit, but it doesn't feel like
Yes.
home.
Yeah,
Like
something doesn't
something
click.
doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. You guys hear that? Whoever's gonna listen, the audience, I'm still searching for my community. Like, what's up?
Somebody give that
Holla at
Holla.
Nessa.
somebody conversations with herself.
Yeah,
That
yeah. All right, guys. Well, this was great.
was nice.
So, do we have some plans for finding
I think I
community?
just, let the cat out the bag. I just said it, people out there in the world, find me. If you don't speak English, I speak Creole, I speak a little French, Google Translate is here. Just reach out to me and let me know what's up because I'm looking. I'm looking.
Mm. What about you, Cass?
I don't find community. I want the community to find me. Like, what is community do? What is the map? Like, dude, I've been waiting for you. just, just find me.
Yeah.
I so rush. I have at least a good like another 50 years to live, so I have some time. And I honestly want to start finding community when I start
Dead
having time for community, because
my whole life.
Yeah. Come through.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
soon. But I have like little sub communities that I like right now. I'm liking this little women sub community that we
Yeah.
have going on. What I'm starting to have like my little family siblings community that we have going on. We texted a few times. That's progress. And yeah.
I think you find
Yes.
time for what you think is
That's
important.
important.
But
That's important. Having time for community is important. Very. I agree.
I think it's important to like while you're seeking community to kind of look around and find
Nice.
maybe it's someone you haven't spoken
Nice.
to in a
Nice.
while, or it's someone you do speak to regularly but it's so invisible that you don't really kind of notice that they could actually be part of your like more visible community. So sometimes it's good to kind of investigate like your actual connections that you have now that are maybe a little bit shallow that you may want to kind of go
Mm.
deeper with. So that's also an idea, because sometimes we do have those people around and we just don't realize.
Sometimes I can meet those people you used to know before and you have a
Mhm.
conversation with them and you're like, what? I don't think I want to have this conversation. And honestly, I have this weird thing about moving on, not just in friendship or relationship or whatever. Like it feels odd because it's gonna feel like I'm going back to something that I've already experienced, and I like new experiences. So, new
Yeah, I
community,
think
where you at?
my only thing with that is that people people can change. Like people can find right, like it's
They
like
can
the old
change,
doesn't
but
have to just
they
because you
should
left someone back there doesn't mean that they're still back there when
Yeah.
you
And
find them
old can
again.
be the new, you
well
know?
now they're gonna be somebody else's good experience or whatever experience it may be.
Right,
That's
right. That's
right.
true. That's true.
Out. Hey, I mean, it's valid for some people. I just meant, like some other people that you've thought maybe, oh damn, like I just never really paid attention. Maybe that's what I meant. But I feel
But if it's
there's someone you're
like
like, nah, you can go. I feel you.
it should happen.
All right.
I if I already tried, I don't think I'm gonna try again. But sometimes you just connect. I don't want to investigate the connection. I just want the connection to happen. Somebody
Right.
walking in the room, and then King Pasi is playing, and then we start like saying the words together, and then we guess each other's sentences. And like, oh my gosh, community, yeah.
Well, it was great to just kind of sit here and talk about community a little bit, and just kind of as we are forming our own little community, and just kind of setting up this podcast to be just our little space where we can come and have these conversations, and just really pay attention to what's around us. All right. Coming up next is our new regular segment, Weekly Rent Time. Every week after our conversation, one of us will rant about something that we just can't let go. Stay tuned after the break for our very first weekly rant.
Gueule, non, on veut plus de violence. Black on black, zéro tolérance. Black Lives Matter. Je vais quand même te couper la queue. Tu pourras plus faire la file. Tu pourras pas les filer. Mon couteau est trop effilé. Moi j'en ai marre, je vous l'ai déjà dit. Y a pas que moi, y a surtout les esprits. Jusqu'à la mort, c'est ça la vie.
Why are you so angry?
What pisses me off is listening to people who talking to black queer people, or just people of color who are queer, and talking about how kind of people who are trying to gauge of like how far is too far. Like I had someone bring up the example of Shameless, and how suddenly after Ian got a boyfriend, now they were showing a lot of gay sex and a lot of gay interaction, and they just kind of felt worried for like their children. And my thing was, okay, first of all, why is your child watching Shameless? Like, why are you letting your child watch Shameless? That's one. Second of
Hmm.
all, it's like Shameless literally in the intro song shows two people fucking, and you could see like the dude's ass in the bathroom doing that. Yet somehow that was fine, and that was fine for how many damn seasons before Ian became old enough to have a boyfriend? It's just that sex is everywhere. In all of our media, sex is just there, it's just present, and that's an issue in itself. It is like we don't need to be oversaturated with sex images everywhere that we go, which is why people no longer really kind of see sex as a thing other than like peeing or pooping or whatever. But also at the same time, it's like, why is it fine when it's like a heterosexual couple that's just doing it on TV all the time, and you can't even like sit there and watch it with your parents? How is it that suddenly that gay people are participating in that same practice of having sex everywhere? How is it suddenly like this the issue? And the issue is still not even just sex that's everywhere. The issue comes with gay sex that's everywhere, and people feeling like it's being shoved down their throats. My thing is, we have issues in our media, and we do. However, what we don't want to do while we're addressing these issues is replicating the same kind of discriminatory practices. We don't want to do it just because it's gay sex. We have to interrogate like whatever, actual reason and whatever actual problem that we have, and not really see it as, oh, suddenly they're doing it. It's kind of like gun rights in the 60s. It was fine when white people had gun rights in California, but as soon as the Black Panthers got their guns, now suddenly California needed a gun law. So, my thing is that like find the right issue and try to kind of like bring the homophobia down a little bit.
We from the old school, don't let them rope you. You running things, stay in your lane, wishing to smoke you. Connecté à la zone, ça qui mourit, ça fait aïe.
Thank you, everyone. And don't forget to tune in for our next episode next week on Wednesday.